Welcome back, everybody. I hope you are prepared. Still initialized. That's still Nightmare.
Crazy.
Still brothers. I know that doesn't change, in fact. But what has changed is the matchup that is coming up, namely BDSA versus Heretics. This game looks to be an absolute banger, match of the day for sure. 2-2-0 teams. One of the LFL representatives, the top seed from Spain as well. What an insane matchup to end the day with.
It is, and again, it's a continuation of the LFL versus LVP history, rivalry. It is very LFL-sided, but the stakes are still there. The importance is still there. After the win earlier in the day by Vitality B, it sits at about 26-11. I kind of just went through all the games I could find, and that's what I ended up seeing, and it fit what I tended to know about these teams. The LFL is just really damn good. But you can say the same of this Heretics team. I'm talking to Noah on the LVP broadcast, who was saying, what was the answer, Sam? Are Heretics a good team? Was the answer just yes?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like, I think her words were that she also thought the BDSA are likely better, but as far as a potential contest, they definitely have that in them. And of course, BDS Academy are the team that joined LEC this year, or at least the organization joined LEC this year. Heretics will be replacing long-standing Misfits next year as well, so a bit of pride on the line, as well as up-and-coming LEC orgs to boot.
Yeah, it could be a bit of a preview into a future LEC org clash anyway. Whether these players feature in that, absolutely yet to be seen. Nothing as we look forward to the future about that. But Heretics, they're going to lock in that Wukong very early on. First pick gives them a lot of ability to skirmish, gives you some early presence team fighting. Wukong is still, even after all the nerfs, so consistent. And on the other side, BDS thinking about what they can do through their own mid-jungle. Reeker has been very successful on the Ahri, but that would be something very, very different. I'm not going to talk about the hovers, but either way, looking between both of these mid laners, they do love to pick these early skirmishing champions, and it wouldn't surprise me to see something like that Ahri or that Taliyah picked up very early on, as both of these mid laners have found success with it.
Absolutely, and you're looking at the likes of Adam, Reeker, Crownie, or Erdote as well, but perhaps for slightly different reasons. All of these players are former LEC players who would love to prove they are worthy of going straight back to the top stage in Europe, and continuing dominance we've seen from this squad so far, who went second in spring in the LFL, were pushing LDLC to 5-game series. It's another second place finish here in summer. They are being so close to being the dominant team, not only in the LFL, but in EU Masters as well over the course of this year. Is this their time to shine up against Heretics? They win this, they go 3-0, they defeat their closest opponents. Beside of Heretics, it's Jackspektra. How close has he been to making the likes of LEC how many times before? They've got themselves a Wukong and a Zeri. They might just be pulling a bit of an X7 here if they go for the Azir to go with
lava,
that.
Apparently,
I know.
because we've been hovering them, but we haven't been locking them in just yet. And Zwyroo picking up the Ahri, 7-0 in summer, 5-0 on the Taliyah. In terms of roaming early priority picks, this has been a staple of Heretics. And now Zwyroo going to pick up that champion in the mid lane. On the other side, Reeker has to choose their own poison versus one of their also most played and prioritized champions.
Does lock in the Poppy though, and that will be likely going towards Sheo to try and shut down the likes of this Wukong and Zeri, who don't get to dash as easy. Same with the Ahri, actually, for that matter. 3 dash champions locked in for the side of Heretics, and BDSA looking to do their absolute best to make that as challenging as possible. But now we're into the second half of the Big Bang. We're still looking at solo lanes likely for BDSA, whereas there's a support and a top lane yet to be locked in for Heretics.
Okay, so wondering what is going to be held for that counter pick. Are we going to see Reeker hold on a little longer? Either way, Heretics now have the choice to ban away some of the stronger mid-jungle 2v2 picks. Ahri Wukong is a very strong duo. It's the ability to play it very early into the game, quite high damage, especially if you build Ahri with a bit of damage. We'll see whether...
I mean, Leandri's builds have been coming out more and more.
Hey, that one actually
recently.
helps. That one I actually don't have an issue with. If you're hitting frontline, Leandri is already completely fine with it. Still probably would like to see some stacking on top of that too. Get some light reading of a Magi Soul Stealer. But on the other side, what does Reeker have in the wheelhouse to try and shut down this mid-jungle 2v2? Because it feels like both of these mid-jungles have a lot of ability to get things going early. It has been the wheelhouse for a lot of the early plays. BDS Academy typically playing through their top side. And you really are looking to see who can win that arm wrestle there.
Going to be the case at this point. And now, of course, Reeker somewhat criticized, should we say, in spring in the LEC for a limited effective champion pool. Over the course of summer, has played a lot more champions on the Academy Club for BDS, locking in the Taliyah right now, a champion that's been very potent around the world, mostly in mid lane, but occasionally in jungle. And will now have the ability to team up with Sheo and try and be a bounce house in whatever tower they care to dive.
Yeah, and of course it is 2 anti-dash champions. You got a lot of difficulty now diving into the Team BDS Academy, and something like Leona can struggle with that too. Of course, the Solar Flare doesn't really care for your disengage abilities, it finds you out either way. But Reeker, as a reminder, so many of you may have just seen this play for the first time in spring when he was on Mad Lions. Before that was on Berlin International Gaming and did really well with a lot of high agency picks, joining fights in early. It was a lot of Renekton mid and Aurelia back at that point. Now going on to that Taliyah, returning a bit more to that higher agency style, which they have found success with this split. It's going to be the Renekton in the top side after holding on to that top lane pick for a little while into the draft. Adam, though, has been a large-time Darius player. It has been fairly successful in the meta.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, we've seen Dusty lose with that pick earlier in the tournament, but it is going to be locked in, and it gives BDS Academy one of their hallmarks, which is that ability to just play through topside and play through Adam's, as Middlecott in the LFL English cast said, straight BS picks in the 1v1. Of course, Darius, I'm sure many of you will have experienced that yourselves. Renekton, no slouch in that regard either, but 1 kill in this matchup to the Darius, the lights start going out.
They really, really do. And, you know, a little bit of a storied history here for the likes of Vibo, who used to be on BDS back in 2020. Move was in the Unicorns of Love Sex Edition back in spring, is now on Heretics. He's been on a lot of teams that have done very well at the Amazon European Masters, and was going to look to carry LVP team, the #1 seed from Spain, to a victory here against an LFL rival. But looking at the side of BDSA, they've got that interesting 1v1 pickers, Middlecott, so delightfully phrased for Adam. Vibo's on a Renekton, something he's no slouch with either.
Yeah, and of course, Zwyroo picking up one of their undefeated picks for this summer. And speaking of undefeated, that's a long shout away from a number of champions they had back in spring, just in general, because Heretics back in spring missed out on the LVP playoffs. They didn't make it to Amazon EU Masters. Nor did Giants, the other representative in the main stage of this event. They finished just 1 win outside of the playoffs bracket. It was such a harsh race to the post back in Spain in spring, but both of them now representing their region on the highest stage available to them. And Heretics, it would be great for them and their region for them to break some of the, I'm not going to say completely break the narrative, but break some of the tension around the Spanish-French rivalry in the ERL scene, because it has been owned by the French for a very long time at this point. Yes. As we were saying, 26-11, or thereabouts. I did my best counting them to the French in terms of the head-to-head between regions. But Heretics, they are coming in as a very well-regarded team by their experts, by their fans, and it would bolster a lot of their fan base to take a win here and hold BDS Academy to account, because of course, remember last time they were in EU Masters, they went out of groups. They did lose a couple of games, including to Fnatic Team Kesso, if I remember correctly, and Bifrost. Those are the 2 teams that went out ahead of them. They themselves have some stepping up that they would wish to do.
Well, prepare yourselves for a of a game. We're on the Rift and ready to get into the action. Junglers starting on opposite sides of the map. Does mean that perhaps this Renekton will get a little bit more support earlier on. Darius is very good at playing in those 1vx scenarios, but normally likes a little bit of gold or a few levels to his name before he really goes to play in that scenario.
Okay, so you need to see what's going to happen with these early lane priorities. Of course, Aphelios, Renata expected to win over the Zeri Leona in a lot of different ways, but the other 2 lanes can be fairly flippy. Darius, of course, having so much damage at level 1 in this mid lane. Interested in seeing how that one plays out.
It does feel to be the case, and see, of course, whether it all comes actually out to bear as early on. Nothing super exciting happening. Of course, it'd be a little bit crazy to see that level 1, and maybe always a good chance to sort of chat a little bit about some of those Heretics boys as well, because of course, like Jackspektra is a player who was so hyped for so long and then kind of just missed out on a spot in the LEC, just missed out on a spot in Carmine Core, and now in Heretics has won the split. Again, looking to put his name in the hat and try and find a way to take that next step. And a stage like the Amazon European Masters is such a good space for teams and players to prove how good they are
Yeah.
You know that teams out there are watching this tournament to see potential pickups for the likes of next splits.
And particularly against the oh, that's a big pullback actually. Adam getting out. Oh, there you go.
Flash for it. Forced to flash straight back out of Ibo. But bluerzor is actually here.
Well, now he's down a flash. Both of these top laners, they do like to push up. They like to get the priority. But bluerzor's here for Adam.
Decimate used. Adam will throw down the ghost. I don't think they can actually catch up to him. He just gets to walk away. And the wave's still in an awful position.
Yeah, but he doesn't have summoners now. I have to see whether that ends up continuing on to anything. Sheo, though, going towards bot side. Let's see what they can do around the bot lane.
The bounce house is about to begin. Jackspektra trying his very best to turn one around. The flat tower shots coming in. Erdote will burn down to the bailout, likely to fall afterwards. And that will be a kill back, but that one goes to whiteinn rather than the AD carry.
And it's still 2 waves lost under turret. It's a successful cross map from the side of BDS Academy. You've got a lead in terms of the AD carry role. And whenever you give gold over to an AD carry, especially one which can fire into a team fight so freely with the likes of Aphelios ultimate, it gets kind of dangerous. You know what both of these AD carries do when they reach certain item breakpoints. BDS Academy walking away with slight disadvantage on top side, but a fairly significant one on bot.
They do, and that is great for the side of Crownie on the Aphelios, a champion we know so many AD carries are very comfortable at this point. As Adam continues to play in the 1v1, gets the fear, another decimate would do it. Ibo falls down in the 1v1. Adam proving his worth once more.
And again, it is just Adam's specialty playing around strong 1v1s in the top side, which give his team control. Ibo, as much as he's got history on his side, as much as he's got experience, just gets killed off in what is a difficult matchup. Now, Heretics, they are really looking for one area of the map which they're winning in, because TBDS in the 2v2, that's been going fine. Sheo is once again here to potentially impact the bot side, has flash, that's the root.
There's the binding eclipse used. Jackspektra will dash away with the spark surge, but in goes whiteinn and really wishes he didn't have to flash straight back on out. I'll get the additional summon and back away.
And Sheo is just looking for anything they could get at that point, opportunistic, and also means that his CV2 can hold the wave at tower. Bad wave positioning from Heretics in their bot lane, not able to get a clean reset off at that point, and bluerzor and Zwyroo not actually able to impact the game themselves to help this be fixed by Heretics. They're going to be sat in a very awkward lane state and topside with that slow pushing back out as well. Let's see what Ibo can do. Really can't stand and fight against the Darius. Has to take short trades, and Adam will now have the wave on his side. BDS Academy very happy with how things are working out for them.
This is just Darius in melee matchups. It's so rough to go in.
He has tier 2 boots, he can run him down.
He's just waiting to look for an apprehend, lands it, and now Ibo will take a decimate afterwards, and he's starting to take more of these autos than he would like. Just managed to get on out of there, but the bleed will take him down a bit lower, and with the wave shoving away and Ibo zoned off it, so much experience going to waste right now.
Okay, but Adam doesn't have summoners, and now finally we have Heretics moving their mid laner to the play. Zwyroo has been spotted out of lane though, was spotted on a ward in a top pixel brush in the river, so Adam just gonna collect that wave. But you can already see again, Adam just seeing that he has a movement speed advantage and a melee versus melee matchup, that becomes very, very important. Pulling away Ibo as best they can. BDS Academy control around the top side due to the efforts of their top laner, and leaves them free with resources to go towards bot side. Take this dragon.
That's exactly what they do, and Sheo and Reeker, being the early aggressive players they are, they love to skirmish, they love to make things happen early. And they will now claim themselves another dragon, while the leads just continue to slowly grow. The only slight advantage is for whiteinn, who don't really want to have much of a gold lead on. That's not particularly relevant, really, is it? Hooray! Do an additional gold for Leona.
Back in the day, yes, there were such things as support carries, particularly in reference to the Moscow 5 support.
Of course.
The Fresh Prince back then in Season 2, Season 3. That was such a cool
favorite team of all time.
Yeah, they were fun to watch. But that was one of the few times we actually see like support carry. And then after that point, we saw like Zyra's doing absurd damage with no items because the champion was just busted on base damage. But very rarely do we talk about that one. Anyway, this Leona's not going to be that. As much as it's fun to reminisce about history, whiteinn would much rather have had that gold onto... okay, I was popping the ult to just secure the wave. Yeah, just trying to secure the wave. Pops that out, wants to reset the wave, wants to get a reset in, I think. And pops the Dominus just to make sure he can do so.
Does exactly that, and with Herald spawning very shortly, you know that Ibo with the Renekton, and just with the player that he is, will want to be there to try and contest it. It's a Heretic special. Normally he likes to save the teleport, but this time around isn't going to have that opportunity. With Crownie at this point shoving in on the bot side, and with Sever and Crescendo, Heretics were to go start up that Herald. That tower would not be long for the world.
Yeah, it's the correct timing. You want to be aiming towards those weapons. Just have the Crescendo with honestly any item combination, weapon combination at that point. It becomes oh, we get the cool graphics. Oh, I like that. Get the extra level. What's notable on there? Honestly, most people are very close to each other. It is only really Ibo and Adam which are very far apart. You can see that Adam is... Wait, is that total XP? XP plus level, right? That makes a lot of sense.
There you go. That level discrepancy for Adam off the early kill, off the CS, off the time in lane makes a lot of difference. And while everywhere else is relatively comparable, that discrepancy, especially for a player like Adam who, as we were saying when we were chatting to some of the analysts from the LFL English part as well, they're so good at playing by themselves. Zwyroo has to use the ultimate in mid lane. Just looking for more and more of these early gaps.
Okay, I get it. Someone in the control room wants to play with fancy toys.
It's
now,
great.
Don't get me wrong, it is fun, but
that's a big discrepancy in bot lane, actually.
Less obvious.
You know what? Production, you keep doing that. I am happy that you are enjoying this, because I certainly am as well, as Reeker will turn up with none other than Sheo and force an Ibo to flash away, and that means Adam is going to be gifted more time alone on the top side. He now gets to start proxy farming.
Yeah, and you can see the individual lead, particularly between Crownie and Jackspektra, courtesy of that early dive. A couple of CS missing, and of course that top side as well, 1,000 gold. bluerzor popping the ult, though. Speaking of Crownie having a gold lead, going to be forced away from the turret. It's not like there's a Herald to throw down in here, but bluerzor happy to commit the ultimate to the occasion, and at least get Jackspektra some resources to play around.
See on the mini-map, and now on screen, the Sheo is on the Herald, having forced away Ibo, and that's the prize of having put this Renekton down. Will not be able to play for this Herald, will not be able to come and contest that in any way, shape, or form. And yes, you'll get the 2 plates in the bot side. I still feel like BDSA are coming out largely ahead from that trade.
Well, on the whole, I would agree. Particularly if you can get to the point where you can start breaking up side lanes, get this Aphelios Renata out onto the map. Ibo is starting to stack up some... Oh, this could be dangerous for him.
That's an apprehend, and maybe that sting operation that Adam was setting up in that bush will come back to bite Ibo in the bum, but right now he gets to get on out with a slice, and thus is able to survive for now.
I don't know why that phrase is tickling me so much.
Anyway, less
of a tickle on the top side. That is actually quite painful at that point, but Ibo has himself Dominus, has himself an empowered abilities, and even though he's behind in the matchup, just making sure that he's doing what Renekton can do, taking the short trades. Doesn't want to take the larger trades like this.
Yeah.
So as soon as you start getting up to particularly that 5th stack of the bleed, Adam in very much in threat range with the ultimate. So BDS Academy, again, very typical of their playstyle. Adam gets control over topside just in his own 1v1 matchup. Ibo, though, looking to use the empowered ability. It's so dangerous,
how much
though,
he
friend.
wants that. There is the Dominus popped. It has to be done. So Adam's actually out of mana, though. So not going to be able to chase up that much, but the mark was blocked and the bleeding was beginning to burn Ibo down. But that is now the ultimate down, and summoners available for Adam. He can reset, look to get an item, and then look for the solo.
In the mid lane, though. Here, Reeker.
Danger. Over the goes Zwyroo, lands the charm, cleanse away from Reeker, who has to flash out in trade. Ooh, whiteinn. Now they go back in. Blue Razor flashes and gets it. Zwyroo gets the kill in trade. That is huge, huge deal for Heretics, who punish the mid lane.
It is, and for the first time, Heretics have themselves a winning area of the map. It comes through the mid jungle. We called that out very early into the draft as well. First pick, Wukong, making sure you got the Ahri as well. While there are anti-dash champions on the side of BDS Academy, if you're not stacked up and prepared to use them, you don't have the ability to deal with these two. whiteinn also used the first solo player of the game for him to add into the affair, and Zwyroo really like how they played this. You don't have to throw that charm early, just make sure it's as undodgeable as possible, and Reeker already getting burned down. But after this, it is just not having the vision to understand where supports are on the map, because of course, when your support is resetting, obviously the enemy support is typically 2. Erdote is heading towards mid lane. whiteinn is already there.
A reminder, Zwyroo currently 7-0 on the Ahri, undefeated so far this split. Reeker in so much danger. Flash
No
for
cleanse.
that Zenith Blade, no cleanse, no hope, and a second kill to Zwyroo's Ahri.
Oh man, and again, Heretics, credit to them. It takes them a while to find themselves a winning area of the map. They find it in their mid jungle, and they use it on cooldown. They do lose this dragon. Can they find something afterwards? The charm's good.
It is good, and that's even after he's knocked away. His last regard will mean Sheo has to flash out. But now Crownie's here with a Moonlight Vigil empowered with Infernum, and Adam decimates and executes. Another Noxian guillotine, secures a double, and a moment of good play is immediately turned around. He's got Ghost running. He might look for more. How desperate is he to try and get a kill onto this AD carry? The whole of BDSA are hunting. It's a wolf pack. The God King Darius skin is very, very appropriate for wolf imagery. Leading him as the prime in this one, 3-0 on the Darius. Zwyroo teleports in, but the Herald summoned, and that means more gold towards BDSA, who turn that play around so damn fast.
Really well punished from the side of BDS Academy. I thought actually after this charm landed, things could get a bit dicey, but you've already used your Cyclone at this point, right? And Erdote buys enough time. Everyone just on the correct timing. Adam, no teleport, but a Ghost will get him where he needs to be, and BDS Academy, showing that Heretics, while they might have some advantages, they're not nearly in a strong enough position to use them infallibly. Timing doesn't work out for the LVP representatives in BDS Academy at the end of what should have been a pretty strong period of play from the Heretics. Walk away with a win around that objective.
They absolutely do. And the gold lead, about 1,500, but it's the Darius. It's beginning to alarm me. We saw Kerberos the other day doing similar things, but when that was happening, the other side of the map was getting big advantages, and Zwyroo Zeri is doing well, 2-0, getting ahead of his opponent, but needs to be more, needs to continue snowballing, and you cannot have plays like that turned around so drastic.
Well, Zwyroo wasn't the one to die, and it has got 1,000 gold lead, has a Dark Seal, so potential of stacking that one up. And without a huge amount of pick CC, I think actually it is a pretty good game for Ahri to be doing significant damage. Now the champion, in most players' hands, doesn't do that much, unless you do yourself again. An itemization habit of buying up that Dark Seal and seeing what you can snowball through with it. But in this game, safety is not something that Heretics have for their front line. And trying to play around zero front line when they've been culled off by the huge burst damage of BDS Academy with the likes of a Taliyah and an Aphelios throwing their skills at them very early into the fight means that sitting down to actually do that damage as the Zeri and the Ahri going to be a little difficult, especially since BDS Academy have themselves the lead in the early game.
They absolutely do, and a lot of that lead is on the man that was on screen just a moment ago, Adam. Again, a player that was on Fnatic not so long ago, then a rough split in spring sent, saw him demoted down towards the ERLs and has been pretty dominant in the LFL. Been very dominant in this game, again looking to prove that he is worthy of returning to that top stage in Europe. And a good showing for himself thus far at the Amazon European Masters to prove exactly that.
Yeah, and of course his return to the ERL scene, which he'd found a lot of success in before, right? Many players can say the same. A lot of talent around here, which has been really pushing the envelope in terms of what ERL talent are looking to do towards the top end. Not everyone has been completely successful with that, but they've had a good crack at it. And once again, they find themselves in a position to prove themselves, which many players fight very, very hard to do. So many players within the ERL space would love to have that point. Adam in a 1v2. He's going to have to pull out a lot, though.
Goes to do a fairly decent apprehend, goes straight back on out, but actually I think I knocked him away from the Decimate. The Herald's been started up Sheo pretty low, but over comes Zwyroo, flashing for the charm, misses it, but gets the shutdown! That is huge! They get another one after Naibo's on the board. Look at the rest of it, though. The Solar Flare lands onto Erdote. He's taken straight out into decent Moonlight Vigil, into the Binding Eclipse. Might say white.
Does he have the cooldown?
He'll get out alive. It is in the end a 3 for none, and Heretics bite back.
That is a huge win for Heretics, and it's through the top side. It's against the Darius, who is typically very strong in this 1vx scenario, but doesn't manage to do anything with it. And Zwyroo on their undefeated Ahri for summer in their 8th game after going 7-0 regionally, are in a very strong position at this point, and you've got a lot of kills onto that champion. Now it starts off, of course, with the Wukong, the Renekton closing down their target, but Adam, after this point, doesn't have a second Q, can't reset the fight, and Zwyroo manages to get that shutdown. Huge amount of gold, of course, stacks on the Dark Seal too. At this point, you're starting to wonder, can this Ahri start to snowball? Become a threat which BDS Academy had hoped would not come online this game.
Absolutely true, and again, that was, I think, Adam not quite being away for the Decimate, but Sheo shunted them away with the heroic charge, so he didn't get as much of the heal as he could have done. Only hit the clone. And suddenly he goes down afterwards, and Zwyroo now 3-0 into stacking up to 8 seals on that Dark Seal. Got himself a stopwatch and, of course, the Fiendish Codex, all the better to prevent Adam from snowballing onto him. A lot of those ultimates down. I wonder what the Heretics feel like they have an angle here to make this dragon fight theirs.
They don't have themselves the Cyclone as well. Solar Flare, though, from whiteinn. Leona not a pick that we see as much of anymore. That consistent engage, very, very important. Sheo looking to get some vision control. We split the river. We have our battle lines forming. We have a Wukong on the flank.
Gets in onto Crownie. Has to get out of there. He's got a Gale Force away. Still got the flash. Still got the cleanse. Adam so low. Does not hit with the decimate. Now got the ghost, and BDSA have to run for the hills, or at least the mid lane. Dragon started up by Heretics all the while. Stun onto whiteinn, no chunks him out. Now BDSA looking to re-ingress into the river. Erdote down to half. Sheo down to half. Throws out the Keeper's Verdict. Knocks away the Ahri. That's your major kill contributor. Ibo launched back.
Oh, this is looking bad for Heretics.
It's going to be so bad. Erdote will not get taken down, but now they're going to get running away again. Throwing out as much damage as he is possible to do. Another lightning, ultra shot laser does what it can. It's still not enough. And they get out with a kill onto Sheo and the dragon. They get on out.
We have seen a couple of grouped up fights now between these two teams, and Heretics on the whole have been getting the better of them, playing them a little better. As soon as that Poppy ult came in and the dragon started to reset, I was worried about the dragon damage going across Heretics, potentially the ability of Crownie or Reeker to flash forward, finish off some kills, but they couldn't quite land their marks. And once again, Heretics, after a difficult early game, starting to find their own advantages. Kills starting to rack up in their favor. Gold slightly to the advantage, even though it's behind in several carry areas. It is this mid lane, which is the shining light for them. Zwyroo, with their target access, has done a really good job of denying Adam strong team fights. Even in that fight, gets a charm onto the Darius and make sure they're chunked out. And if Darius isn't doing great amounts of work for BDS Academy, it's a lot of their gold lead, which is not really achieving what it wants to.
No, it's not. Crownie at least kept summoners, but BDSA are struggling in these groups of fights. Now the gold is pretty much even. But the sole point is stopped, and Crownie needs to be a little afraid as Zwyroo heads on and lands the charm, gets the cleanse afterwards. The solar flare not quite in range, but that's both summoners mentality. And the Gale Force down.
Love that mentality against Zwyroo, just making sure that he's blowing the defensive abilities in a very consistent manner. He knows there's no turnaround potential when he goes in for that charm, so he can use a second dash to reposition for a closer range one. Crownie blows both summoners, has to play the next 5 minutes without that flash, and that is a green light for Heretics or someone like bluerzor, with Zwyroo's next ultimate to make a big play.
Behind it, Sheo looking for this angle. There's the Weaver's Wall going in. Reeker decides against it and aborts the Surf. That wave would have been a dangerous one to take on in. An Ultra Shock Laser chunks out Erdote and Crownie just slightly. Play aborted now in the mid-river. Ibo and Adam trading on out, but Reeker's coming on over, and Ibo will dice his way away from danger.
This is so down to execution, which is one thing which I love to see, right? Because then you get to really have that conversation whose best charm lands.
That talking about execution, they're going to make that one happen like that. Hostile takeover comes through. whiteinn shoved back with a seismic shove and taken down. Adam gets that one. Tower stays alive. One auto. How much HP is that tower on?
We actually don't get to see. Normally it would pop up in the left-hand corner. Oh, Adam's going.
Adam gets the flash apprehend. So Ivo trying to turn it back around. Decimate comes through. Ivo got the dominate. Tower still stands. And no
with
one
25 HP. It is literally just that singular auto. But BDS Academy, they fight for it. And Adam gets another kill. 4 out of the 5 kills for his team. And on the other side, Reeker has to be counting their lucky stars. Walked away from that play after getting charmed at the start of it. Normally that's death, especially when you are someone who's squishy like a mage, but that crown of the Shrouded Queen becomes incredibly important. Blocks away. Actually, is there any way we can see the amount of damage that that crown has blocked? Because I'd imagine a lot of it was from that fight. If either way, yeah, well, I do like to, you know, put observers on their toes, because I look at that fight and the amount of damage that managed to block must have been a fair amount. Walks away with very low amount of HP. Either way, BDS do not manage to keep that outer turret, and that's going to be that objective over the side of Heretics.
Yeah, that feels about right. A bit of a discrepancy in favor of Jackspektra right now, but that Ahri doing lion's share for Heretics. Well, of course, Adam Darius doing what it can to be the hard carry this game to beat.
Apparently the crown has blocked 617 damage. I'm going to imagine a lot of that was actually in that fight. Another 600 damage would have absolutely put Reeker in the dirt. So thank you, production, for following up with that one. And now Heretics, again, finding their advantages in a very difficult game. This game has not been easy. BDS have not made it easy for them, particularly with winning in top and bot lane. But the last remaining one, where the engine room of the playmaking is for Heretics. That mid jungle, they've managed to leverage it very, very well. Can they find it again? Ahri not at this play right now, but Crownie still without flash, still without the cleanse. There were some blue pings onto mid lane, but they're looking towards the bot side of the map instead.
Do what they can. Erdote chunked down the other side. bluerzor trying to chase down that ult. That Renata doing what they can, but Adam on the other side just executes support. One down for Heretics.
Heretics, I think the idea was, let's play away from the Aphelios. They don't have their AD carry. There's going to be a damage discrepancy. Yeah, well, that doesn't really work out for your Leona, does it? Saw it in the last game, actually. X7, their jungler, Viking, playing on the Vi. Heard his complaints about that draft going, oh, yeah, I'm just going to be this one person stuck in the meat grinder. Same thing for whiteinn in this game. Gets pulled into the Darius. 5th kill for Adam. And while BDS Academy were losing a couple of the grouped up fights, starting to find their footing again. More than starting to find it. They are getting very stable and dangerous within this game. 2 items on onto that Darius means that they are very much looking to walk away with that top side guillotine going off the cooldown.
Eyes on the infantry of Ivo as well. He's actually gone towards a chem tank as the mission across this one. Sheo might now be in danger as Ivo pops Dominus as well, but Ivo comes on the side of BDS. They're going to try and teleport back in, but over comes Reeker. He's there first. Ivo going to try and get a decent slice and dice, but he can stop before he can cull the meat by that hostile takeover. And now Adam can begin to turn one around. whiteinn tries to do what he can, but he's taken straight on down. The Ultra Shock Laser comes through. It's a double Ultra Shock Laser onto the bottom lane, but it's not enough. And they lose 2.
Not enough. And the person making the play is the top laner. It really needs to be bluerzor or Zwyroo. One of those two needs to really be leading the charge. The Leona and this Renekton, if they go in and they don't have flash, they are just stuck in the meat grinding. It's exactly what happens. Even with the chem tank to help out with some mobility for Ivo, just shunted out of that fight. BDS Academy ruthlessly turning onto that Renekton, and Heretics, while they had started to find those fights, they are now at a point where they are struggling to leverage their advantages. Zeri, Ahri, not doing any damage at the start of this fight. Renekton, Leona, separated from their carries, not able to set up for them to do the damage. And Heretics are going to have to start re-evaluating how they approach these fights.
They've managed to make some great plays before this, but that's now 2 in a row, which have gone somewhat awry. The Cull's cashed in for Jackspektra, and that's great news. If he can get to an Infinity Edge on time, we know exactly what Darius can do from there, but Crownie's not far away from the Infinity Edge himself. All the while, Reeker may have had a bit of a rough early start to the game, but he's now more than dangerous enough, and Adam at 5-1 and 2 is beyond deadly.
But we do know what can happen with Darius, right? It's a very difficult champion to pilot. In fact, when Dusty lost with their own Darius, that was a game where Game Ward, where they came into the interview, said, yeah, Darius is just kind of a bad champion. Don't know why they picked it. Adam needs to pilot it a little better than they could in that game. It was so difficult to do so, but if you get one good charm, one good solar flare, can be enough to just CC chain the Darius into oblivion. Death Sense, of course, helps him survive a little longer, but that's what you're really looking for from Heretics. Don't have your own first target separated into the front line. You need to be the ones really doing that with a bit of range CC, with that charm, with something else. And what helps that is something which I'm very pleased to announce. Someone has also become a well-read individual. That's why we're picking up that Magi Soul Stealer. And that is another mythic passive. Gives you an extra 5 ability haste from the Leandries. Very cheap legendary item for the Ahri. And it gives you that chance to potentially snowball a little harder. Potentially become a damage threat, which can pick off that first target and threaten BDS Academy with 1 charm landing.
I love the fact that you're just so committed to,
yes, I really like this.
To play a literacy. You really encourage players to read specific bits of literature. It'll be on the exam, people. Nandara's love of Magi's is perhaps a little alarming, but I promise you,
I'm going to start making like library cards just in the shape of little dark seals.
There's merch in that.
Oh gosh, plans for the future. Plans for right now though is for Heretics again to try and play around these pockets of vision and land those bits of CC. Saw that whiteinn and Zwyroo managed to find a little bit around this mid lane, particularly onto Reeker a little earlier into the game. It's been harder since BDS Academy have managed to shut up shop a little bit firmer in the doors of the LVP's first seed, but as it stands right now, BDS Academy on that Mountain Soul points have a minute to get their affairs in order before they start getting more towards this dragon and force Heretics into what could be a game-defining fight.
Infinity Edge picked up for Jackspektra. I expect the same will be true of Crownie when he goes back. Yep, there it is. So items parity for those AD carries, and both can absolutely demolish a fight if they're given the space to do so. Magi is for Ahri as well, as you mentioned. We can get a few more stacks this next fight, well break the game. It really is less than 1,000 gold apart right now. Sole point though for BDSA makes this fight all the more important for Heretics to deny for BDSA. And it can't start like this. Ibo flash. Dominus gets on the Crownie, has to flash back out in turn. Getting a lot of healing back and finally falls. But it's a 1-for-1 support for top laner. Zwyroo has popped the ultimate double seismic shove into the Moonlight Vigil, and here comes Adam, charmed out of the decimate, trying to flash forward, needs an execute, looking to get it shot down. The AD carry of BDSA have just broken this game.
Heretics were looking for a slower setup, but Ibo walks too far close to that fog of war. BDS Academy pinpoint on the dime. Just get straight onto their Renekton and start off the fight. Heretics pick up one in return, but BDS Academy get themselves a soul and a fight to boot.
Just look at the vision control. Ibo thinks he's safe. They're fighting for Vision, and he just gets a little split from his team. And right here.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you haven't got that vision control, and Sheo on the Poppy shows no hesitation at that point. After the Renekton is down, a lot of your ability to zone out the backline gets a little bit into question. And one thing about the Inferno Ultimate, by the way, yes, it does actually spawn up with clones as well. bluerzor tries to use that to get out, actually just adds another prop onto himself, and his teammate stood next to him. And once again, you can see that Zeri and the Ahri can't really sit and do optimal damage. I mean, Ahri survives the point, now has 10 stacks in the meta, so the movement speed is inactive. But you would have just rather just won the fight, and BDS Academy really, again, just zeroing in on the first target so well in this game, and really forcing Heretics into a bad position.
Zwyroo at least gets the 2 additional stacks required to get to 10 stacks where that item becomes important. Reeker, though, going to be saved by Adam body block. bluerzor has to use the stopwatch charm onto Adam, but he's so damn tanky. bluerzor trying to survive, but an apprehend into a dunk brings him straight on down to the ground. Ibo is another pair of boots for Adam, who's adding to his collection. Crownie was the one who picked that one up, and now 2 members dead. Yep, that feels about right. Reeker shove, and Adam's decimate's doing what they need to, and now off Baron they go.
Heretics can't cleanly find the Taliyah, who's pushing up. It felt like a good angle, honestly. I think it was the correct angle, just mis-executed, can't quite close down the carry, and now they're splitting the map, trying to find something. They give up the Baron for it. BDS Academy, Mountain Soul, Baron in tow, gold starting to get racked up onto very important members and executing on the team fights very well. Heretics really now on the edge of their end of their rope, really, and I wonder if that maybe should have just been a flash solar flare, just get a little bit further in range. whiteinn was playing around the edge of it, but doesn't fully commit to it. Reeker gets to reset the fight, and Heretics get caught in the grinder once more.
And it was such a quick Aphelios from the side of Erdote as well to just get Adam into that play as quickly as possible, and what was supposed to be a pick very swiftly turned around. Now it gets increasingly difficult as Baron Power Play sponsored by Amazon, definitely going to go towards BDSA here, doing very, very well to carry on out the rest of this game. It was a little bit close in the mid game, and honestly, it could still be close. There are ways to turn this around, but it is BDSA absolutely in the ascendancy right now.
At the end of the day, all it takes is one CC chain or someone out of position, and that's a pick. You manage to run around the numbers advantage, and this can start going well for the LVP first seed, but BDS Academy have managed to, again, really tighten up around the kind of looser edges of their plays, where Reeker was caught out a little bit over pushing, Crownie was left alone in mid lane and picked off, and ever since that those couple of plays, maybe about 15 minutes ago at this point, BDS Academy haven't really shown that much of a weakness for Heretics to exploit. Gonna have the Taliyah wall put out around this tower. Heretics choosing to back away from it. It's Ibo looking to split the map. They keep the tower alive just about. BDS Academy
something back.
Yeah, looking to force the hand, but not able to do so right now.
Quite yet, and at least they managed to get that additional tower, but both lanes sieged in here in the mid and bot. They lose the tower in mid, now the inhibitor next to be under target. Crownie just about dodged away from that ultra shot laser with the Mountain Soul as well. It's so difficult to get the required damage down as Adam fearless as he steps forward.
Yes, and what has he got to really be afraid of? He's with his team. If he's the one tanking the CC, then Reeker, Crownie can do the lion's share. Ibo too close to the wall, caught out. Good job!
Into the hostile takeover, the blade on the time. Adam goes down to the bailout, just needs a reset! Shut down! That is bluerzor with the turnaround already coming through. Ibo has popped dominance, but BDSA lose one in trade for another. Where they get both with a charm! Charmed out of the heroic charge. I apologize for the verdict. Alive, he's got flash just now. Ultra shot laser just dodged away from Jackspektra, nearly out of mana. Doing what he can to stay alive at this point. Crownie doing a lot of work, but now outranged because he's onto the 7th Chandam Sheo, haunting this side wall, trying to find another angle. In goes whiteinn, gets Reeker's cleanse. Sheo still trying to find an angle, so low though, burning away. Crownie gone forward, trying to get as much damage down as can, but can't quite secure another kill. Erdote taking solo, had the flashback on out. BDSA in so much danger. Jackspektra could put them all in the grave. He just needs to let a few more. Burst fires, gotta go forward. Zwyroo, got a cleanse, got a stopwatch. Crownie into the bailout, survives into the stopwatch to boot, and now he can stay alive. Solar flare just goes wide, and Sheo will zone them all away. BDSA gets away with absolute murder and slivers of HP bars.
And in the last defense of the base, Zwyroo and Jackspektra do finally get some playmaking done. It is, again, hard fought, but they at least take down some shutdowns. BDS Academy not able to finish off the game at that point. Crownie very, very close to going down. Now has a Guardian Angel, so it won't nearly be as close the next time. The bailout saving them this time, and BDS Academy still walk away with 2 broken inhibitors. That's going to be super minions, which are going to have to be dealt onto. And Ibo, a little too close to the wall, but once he's engaged onto, as soon as that heroic charge is down from the Poppy, a lot of the CC and the immediate turnaround is gone. Get to isolate that first target in the way that we've been asking for. And that charm is a thing of beauty. Wins the mind game. Sheo charmed out of the charge that time. And honestly, this Ahri is still a threat. Managed to survive this fight with some kill participation, more Magi stacks going up. And you can see how close it gets when the very mobile carries of Heretics get to play the back end of the fight. Almost close the distance onto the BDS champions.
How close some of these fights are. BDSA are still hunting to be undefeated in this group, to beat their direct rivals here, to continue the name of the LFL, and then you can see how close that is to getting away with this one. But Crownie manages to cleanse the charm, stopwatch here as well, having thrown out the moonshot, bailed out as well to boot by Erdote over the wall. We're right back to live. It's Elder Dragon for the side of BDSA who are in position. It's the stun into the wall to Sheo, into that hostile taker from Erdote, but Crownie taken so low, but not down. Look at the backside. Adam is going to be resurrecting Moonlight Vigil. Does it work? Surely be a dead Adam. Surely charmed out, and down he goes. Gets none back in return. Now down that frontliner, down that potential win condition. Charm. Find that one. They get the charm on the Sheo, but can they get the kill? The keeper's ready. Does his work in a massive seismic shove? Doesn't get the blade back. The shot laser is there, but the HP bars, courtesy of Crownie, are chunk low.
Jackspektra did an awesome job of zoning out the rest of BDS Academy with the overwhelming threat of the Zeri at that point. But Heretics, they don't want to let this Elder go, but can they contest?
Can you smell that in the air? It's the smell of burger flips, and Heretics will make their last stand here. The result over the wall of Vision, down to 4,000 HP. Ibo shuns into the wall, but not quite enough. Charm on the other side of Erdote, who's taken so low, not quite out. Ibo has to flash over the wall, still goes down. Crownie gets that one. Erdote traded back out on. He will not be bailed out.
Poppy's down.
Don't the charm onto Crownie, but it's not quite enough. Elder Dragon is secured by Poppy. I mean, bluerzor dies. BDSA, they've done it. They've got the win. Shuts down onto Zwyroo, undefeated, no longer on the Ahri, and they will win the game out of this one. There can be no way to hold on.
No, they're not pushing for the base. The wave's going to be cleared. Jackspektra still has items, is still alive, and BDS Academy not done just yet. Not able to throw it right at the Nexus. Still have themselves that Elder Dragon. They're going to take down that Baron. It might just be as good as gone. The BDS Academy still potentially one last fight in it. Heretics giving as good as they've gotten. Just close enough to it. Starting to really threaten BDS in with these charms, with this ability for this Zeri to run down various members of BDS Academy. Game's not just over yet.
Turned in his library book, has come back out with a death cap instead. Knows that with the stacks gone and with one more fight in them, he has to go for the
It's immediate power. Makes sense,
now.
right? It's the immediate power. I'd also suggest, if you haven't bought yourself a pot at this point, you probably want to do that on the side of Heretics. Get yourself that short-term burst tower. Whatever you can get on top of that will be so valuable. But BDS Academy with another Baron this game, joining forces with this top lane. BDS Academy trying to play these battle lines, play the front to back, take down this tower, finish off that last structure in the base.
Mountain Soul, Elder Dragon, and now the Baron, and they're shoving into a base with no inhibitor towers. One falls in the top side, the middle inhibitor about to fall afterwards, and BDSA are looking to close the coffin lid on Heretics. They will be taken out. Never expect the French Inquisition. The Heretics will be taken out. The non-believers of the LFL punished for the temerity of challenging in this game. They tried so hard, but hard will not be enough. BDSA Academy say welcome to the LEC for the organization, but here in the Amazon European Masters, we are triumphant. And they go 3-0 in the group.
Heretics, the first seed from the LVP, hopeful for the Spanish fans, will not be able to return the results, turn around the results earlier in the day when Giants sadly themselves lost to Vitality B. It's 2-0 for the LFL on the day versus their Spanish rivals. Now you have BDS Academy in a very strong position after getting knocked out in groups in spring, turning up to the stage in summer.
Yeah, huge performance from the squad there, doing exactly what they can to get the 3-0. And it was a close game, actually, despite the early snow.
Very much so.
Particularly on the top side, Heretics finding continual picks, making some of those late game fights very challenging. But the gradual advantage just proved too much in the end.
And now we are sat with BDS Academy doing very well within this group. And this is a team which has managed to stick very much to their style, playing around that top side, finding early game advantages. They had to work for it a little more, Heretics, finding some ways around, particularly their mid jungle to make some plays, but that's a bit of a stinging loss, particularly when it was effectively just counter matchup top side, which went wrong very early into the game. Bot lane, which was cross map. They lost two sides of the map very, very early on, and they had to really problem solve their way back into it. I think they managed to punch pretty well in that game considering the situation, but BDS Academy, they found their top lane advantage through just raw laning ability and counter matchup, and the bot side was just all cross map. Very easy game for them to come ahead in the early game.
Well, we've talked about top and bot, but let's maybe chat about mid lane because Reeker is here to tell us about that game. Congratulations on the 3-0, my friend, but got a little bit scary in the mid game. The Taliyah getting attacked by some charms coming out from Zwyroo Zeri.
Yeah, hello. Thank you for the congrats. Yeah, I died twice. So what?
How did you feel about that
they
game?
Killed me. I mean, I died twice, but they usually invest a little bit of ultimates, which ended up in us getting the second Drake. I mean, I think the first death was me inting. I didn't see Leona hit 6, so I walked back in and then she just ulted me. But the second one, I will take for Drake. So yeah, I don't really mind dying, so it might just look bad at first. But if I'm still doing my job in the later part of the game, then I'm happy.
Yeah, and it did feel like that, right? Because in the team fights, you were doing a lot of work with the seismic shoves,
Yeah.
and Taliyah's been hit with a couple of nerfs, but it did feel like you were still having a large impact on the game. Speaking of those nerfs, though, something which I've been asking a couple of times throughout the day, obviously compared to your playoffs, you will be on a different patch. How do you feel that patch has changed the game? And do you think you are better on this patch compared to your playoffs, or maybe just about the same?
For mid lane, I would say it's most likely still the same. It's kind of boring. It's mostly, if there's an Azir spammer, they will most likely first pick Azir. Then there's Ahri, and you pick Lissandra or Sylas into it, but Ahri is still happy with it. So it's usually about how well you can play the champs in team fights. I think that is in the end what makes a difference, because every mid laner should have played this matchup in scrims a couple of thousand times. So getting a massive advantage besides of the one that is supposed to happen should be unusual. And yeah, besides, I think no, not even bot lane change. It's still about Zeri Sivir, so I don't even think that much changed. So
if nothing's changed,
really
then surely,
Actually, it's a bit about dragons.
Then obviously
I got tank,
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, we play a bit different around dragons these days.
That's fair enough. The more things change, the more they stay the same, at least as far as picks go. Thanks for that little breakdown there. question then, perhaps on a broader scale for BDS Academy in general, because obviously quite disappointing EU Masters in spring. How much does that weigh on you going into summer here? Obviously, you work with the team at that point. How are you feeling about this split, this tournament right now, considering some of the history there and some of the second best that BDS Academy have unfortunately had in the past?
I mean, the thing with the Spring EU Masters is that doesn't really bother me because I wasn't part. But for me, this is just EU Masters important because I just dropped out of the LEC after one split, and obviously I don't plan to stop and I want to get back because I don't think my showing in the LEC was good, or I mean, it was not good and it was also not who I am. So I just really want to be myself in the LEC in the next year, hopefully. And then, just want to reach that.
Awesome.
Well, today was a good showcase of a little bit of more who you are. We've seen that a long time for the ERL, so I hope you do manage to find that performance on the main stage.
Yeah, again, wish you the best of luck of living up to your ambitions there and showing up on the big stage here at the Amazon European Masters. Wish you and the rest of BDSA good luck going into the rest of the tournament, and we'll see you around.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Always awesome to hear the ambitions there of the players and say, look, this is what I am dreaming to do. This is how I want to be. I want to prove myself as a player of a caliber of LEC and BDSA in general, prove themselves potential, playoffs caliber and championship caliber if they can keep up the win streak. 3-0 right now in groups.
Yeah, and this game in particular was good to kind of see how much they could get pushed in these team fights. It did basically come down to them, right? And Heretics gave a couple of questions which were handily answered, at least later into the game. A couple of question marks into particularly this fight as well, where they give up the kill, lose the dragon. It's like, okay, a bit awkward, but as soon as it got to the point where actually they did a very good job of removing Zwyroo and Jackspektra from most of these fights, it became a bit of a one-sided affair.
It very much did. And then this fight where this double shuffle over the wall here was so good. Gets Jackspektra and bluerzor into Crownie's massive Moonlight Vigil. And Adam, look where he is, on the flank already. And there's no way of shutting down that Darius at this point.
Yeah, and if Reeker does want to continue up those performances, this is a heck of a good start. We knew what he was capable of on the ERL scene back in Berlin International Gaming, was a huge part of their victories. And bringing to this one, this Taliyah just made it so hard for Heretics to really commit to a lot of these plays. So often it was moments like this, where I mean, this was a particularly bad one, right? This is teleport right into the middle of it. But the front line of Heretics was just, it was so anti-fun for them. There was just no way that they could commit to most of these fights and survive.
And I think this was that final moment where there's just too much weight against Heretics. They held on for a very long time, but Mounted Soul and Elder and Baron and 2 inhibitors is just way too much to hold off against. Still a stopwatch in Sheo's inventory at that point, and they just can't get through all the damage to survive long enough to defend the base, and that was kind of it. See that discrepancy there? Reeker throwing out some massive numbers on the Taliyah.
That means that they are going to walk away with an undefeated first round robin, which cannot be said of the other LFL teams. BDS Academy now walk away as the only undefeated French team left in the tournament.
Game Ward as well.
Sorry, you are completely correct. I was thinking about it, so I was like, hang on, blah, blah, blah. I was like, wait, there's a fourth, because there are a lot of LFL teams which have made it through this tournament. Completely right in calling that out. So one of 2 undefeated LFL teams and looking to go forward with that into the second half of their group, which will be played next couple of days.
Oh, yes, it will. But at this point, I think it's time we start looking into the bit of a recap for the day, because we did have some bangers. And that means starting off with a look at the the SK Prime game, but they managed to get the win over Valiance. And Alois on this Malphite that we were a bit worried about because it was into Arcane Teddy's Fiora. It just didn't matter. They just managed to turn this one around.
Yeah, because it never really became about the Fiora at the end of the day, even with the Yuumi attached to them. SK Prime just managed to out-skirmish in a lot of ways. And Valiance, even though they come in as one of our non-accredited DRLs with lesser expectations, still looking to really prove what they can do on this stage. Arcane Teddy, of course, coming in at a bit of a speed run up to this level, was playing in amateur UK scene where we started casting a little while ago. But SK Prime really just putting to the sword and not really having much of an argument about it.
Absolutely, and it's a really important win for them. But then this was just LDLC playing with their food. It was utter domination early on, and then perhaps a bit of fun. This was also the game with a Yasuo support alongside
Now-
Ballista.
I have a great many friends who are Yasuo players, Yasuo mains, and even they've played this fight from time to time. Doesn't regularly go well. Maybe keep this one to your, maybe not solo queue. Keep this one to your normals. I don't know. Either way, not really fit for this stage. Didn't really work out. Maybe there was some logic to it in terms of trying to play around these kill combos. Didn't work out. But then we move on to a game where the Unicorns, who have been one of our strongest teams at this tournament so far, in terms of what they've shown us, had a difficult game against Zero Tenacity. Zero Tenacity, though they are walking away without a win from the first round robin, have asked questions, much like some of our other teams in this one, even of a team the caliber of the Unicorns.
Yeah, some good leads early, but then a few well-timed picks onto Shigenari made things just a little bit interesting in the end. But then we have this game, Vitality B versus the Giants, where the Antonio got a little bit rumbled by that incredible Fiora from Shigenda.
And Giants committing towards 5v5s, but really struggling to find advantages in it. Will need to really try and problem solve their way through to their second round robin, now walking away with 1 and 2 in what is a very strong group with the Unicorns and Vitality B in it. Moving on to the game after that, X7. They had to problem solve their own way through this tricky composition from AGO Rogue, who played this Ezreal, Ashe, Ziggs, hyper range artillery composition, but they did win out on the big fights, managed to get their engage through, and though Viking may not have been happy being the sole engage and told us
He
much
did
on
his
the interview, did manage to find his way through those split fights, and particularly him and Chasey walked away with some key flank angles to allow their carries to succeed.
It was great stuff there, and that leaves us with a bit of a look that we need to maybe think about our player of the day, our 1+ player of the day, because it's time to instead have a look at the standings. We'll come back to that one, because you can see Group A, Unicorns currently 3-0, LFL's Vitality B in second at 2-1, Giants struggling at 1 and 2, and Zero Tenacity despite some decent turnarounds, still stuck at 0 and 3. X7 undefeated in Group P, LDLC just below them, Go Rogue, and North is rounding out the bottom of that group. Group C, it's BDS Academy, who just beat Heretics in a close game, but a win for BDS nonetheless. And then Heretics in second, SK Prime picked up their first win to stay in third, while Valiants remain winless at the bottom of that group. And in Group D, it is Game Ward undefeated at the top, Dusty at second there at 2-1, and then Schalke and Matchco at third.
Yeah, so it will be, I believe, next game day will be Group D taking place. So it'll be Dusty, Game Ward, Matchco, and Schalke finishing off their group. And it will be, of course, that's the way that, of course, we end up working around. We have the first round robin, and much like your Worlds, your second half of the group is played out in one big day, lots of games through it. So it is really going to be down to the wire for a lot of these teams. Not much time to reevaluate what's happening between individual best of ones. But I don't know whether I'm happy or I'm sad that we don't have one of these real messy groups, which has got like loads of even teams of like 2 and 1.
We don't yet.
Not quite yet, but we'll see what will come of them. Still lots of ways to turn this around. And this is where it gets really interesting for some of these teams who came in with sometimes higher expectations and not quite meeting them. They have a chance now to review the footage of what happened in that last game, come back swinging, and make things interesting.
I'm glad you said review the footage, because that's what we're going to do right now, because we've got a 1+ player of the day. And I think we might know what it is, because it's going to be Shigenda's Fiora popping off in Game 4. This was frankly disgusting. Of course, Fiora at this point, I think I was at 6,000 gold ahead of his opponent in the Antonio.
Yeah, does it in the individual 1v1, comes in and says, Fiora not a teamfight champion. Ha, I will prove that one wrong. And runs down Giants, who had over-engaged a little bit on this play, and Shigenja just absolutely cleans up, uses the stopwatch on a classy outro to that play. Thumbs up at the end of it for the extra style points.
I think that whole game was style points. We know this guy is right up there as the best the ERLs can offer, as top laners, having a phenomenal tournament so far, and had a phenomenal game there for Vitality B, who definitely doing a lot better since their initial loss to Unicorns of Love. Definitely looking to be another contender for the top end of that group. But now to look forwards, because we do need to talk about the schedule, because we are going to start getting those groups playing all their remaining games in one day, and that means next Monday it will be Matchco and Game Ward kicking off that one.
Yeah, so Game Ward obviously standing at 3-0. All they would need to do is, I think if you pick up one more win, there's still a chance that you can get tie broken out with like 4-2 or something. But Game Ward starting off the day with a game against the 0-3 Matchco, potential chance to really just stamp their place into the playoffs. And then after that, Dusty versus Schalke. We have 2 games at the start, which could honestly decide who's going through
Hugely.
right from the off. Particularly if Dusty do get that 2-0 head-to-head, it will just be about placing of those top 2 after that point, or thereabouts. There are some mathematical ways you can play about, but the first 2 games, it's going to be coming in red hot right at the start of the day.
Yeah, can Schalke solve the problems? Can Matchgo get some of that magic out? Well, you have to tune in on Monday, won't you? And that means, unfortunately, for myself, for my Nightmare, and of course from the rest of the Amazon European Master production crew, we wish you good night, good morning, good evening, wherever you are around the globe, and we will see you all on Monday, because why would you miss this kind of action? See you then.